like flowers there are in this one cluster here. It is just insane how, you know, how many are growing. And welcome back. Thank you so much for joining me. If you're new here, I'm Kathryn, the Aerogarden Homesteader, and today I am doing a plant update. I did go through and prune off some of the branches from this tomato plant. So there are still a few branches that will eventually need to get pruned off, but you know, they're still supporting tomatoes. I probably could get this one pruned off, but overall it's pushing out new growth. There's some new growth up here. There's some back here. I did go through and prune off some of the older leaves that were kind of getting a little crispy around the edges to clean up the plant a little bit. So it does look a bit better than it did before. I do wonder if I might need to turn it just to help some of this side growth get back under the light properly, but I guess that doesn't really matter too much. Underneath, it's still looking really good. So even with this being a 2-inch net pot, I feel like there's still plenty of room in here. I do like the 3 inches a lot better because it does feel like it gives a lot more wiggle room and just a lot more growing room in general. So this is the 3-inch net pot over here with the pepper plant in it, and it's looking really good. There's plenty of space under there for the trunk and for the root development. So this one is looking really good. This is the habanero that I can never remember the name of. There are lots of flowers that are opening up. I don't know if you can see this one here. So I need to go through and make sure I am tapping on the plant, you know, just try to jiggle the pollen onto the stamens. So this one is looking really good. I did go through and there were a few leaves that had some sort of crunchy edges. I did give it more food the last time I fed it, which was last week, and I am hoping that will help with the development of it and to prevent future you know, browning of the leaves. Now, I did go through and I pruned off a couple more leaves, but it wasn't too many. It's just really, it's really different compared to the other pepper plants. Look how many like flowers there are in this one cluster here. It is just insane how many, whoop, just dropped one, you know, how many are growing. And I don't know if it's because they fall off pretty easily, or maybe I need to give it more food to prevent falling off, but I think that the amount I'm giving it is it should be good for now. 15 ml should be fine. So, but yeah, no, it's looking really good. There's still like lots of flowers everywhere. It's just like hanging in flowers. I can't believe how many there are. This is how the other tomato plant is doing. It's actually growing out of bounds and just like all over the place, but it's got more flowers. It still has a couple of cherry tomatoes growing on it. There's another cluster over here. All of this is new growth. It's really spindly. And you know, I was actually thinking about this, and I wonder if it's because of the light. The light is actually that more of a reddish tone, and it's not as bright as the Aerogarden light. So I wonder if it's kind of struggling for light a little bit. I don't know how much longer we're going to let this go because I think I am seeing some spider mites over here in this dead leaf. So I did try treating it, but once I get spider mites, the best thing to do is just take it down and clean it up. Let it go fallow for a couple of, you know, about a week, and then that kills it all off and we're ready to start over again. But I really want to sort of catch this right now early because, you know, I've got other plants in Aerogardens that I really want to keep going, and I don't want to be spreading these at all if I can help it. So, plus, any more time in this basket and I don't think I'm going to be able to get it out. So it's one of the drawbacks. That is why I wanted to start making decks with bigger baskets so that I can have plants in for long term. I feel like, oh, you know, I should have taken this out when the first flush of fruit was done, but see, it just pushes out more fruit. So it just seems like a waste of a plant to, oh, only keep it for 2 or 3 months, it's put out its first flush of fruit, and then get rid of it and start over again. I mean, that just seems wasteful and ridiculous. If it'll keep going, you might as well let it keep going. So yeah, this one I think is going to have to come down simply because of the spider mites, but it's still growing and it's still pushing out flowers and doing really well. So I did go ahead and print another deck. This one has a much bigger opening back here for the cord to come through. So lots of wiggle room. There's no pinching. So I think this is the final version of this. I might actually make another version where I try to make it a little thinner, but right now this is a good spot. So right here, we're trying an experiment. We've got our lava rocks, and I don't know if you can see it, this tiny little thing is a strawberry seed. We just placed it on the lava rock, and as long as the lava rock stays wet, I think it can germinate, but I don't know, we'll see. We put it on a couple days ago, so we'll, give it another week or so and see if anything starts happening, but it's kind of an experiment to see if it's possible to germinate a seed on a lava rock as long as it stays wet. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but the water level's really high in here right now in the reservoir, just to make sure those lava rocks do stay wet so that the seed will, stay wet as well. And finally, the pepper plants that are in the bounty. So this one has been producing peppers like crazy. I've already harvested 2 of the peppers. I do try to go through and tap flowers. It's hard to remember to do that, but I feel like I'm mostly successful. So this one's doing pretty good. And then the one on this side has in fact started producing peppers, and it does look like it is a jalapeno. So I don't know if you can see in the back there, there is a jalapeno. So I did get one of each. I got a jalapeno-gate pepper and I got a jalapeno. So that's really good. This one's putting out some nice growth. It's got little clusters of flowers all over the place that I need to remember to go through and pollinate. There's more growth there. So it's putting out really nice growth. It does, I don't know if you can see, it is taller than the, I guess the Hungarian wax style pepper. So I am going to have to be really mindful that it doesn't sort of grow over and crowd this one out too much. It is taller, so the light's going to have to go up higher. This one is shorter and it's a little bushier, just a little bit. So I do need to make sure I pay attention to how this one's growing, just so that it does, get its share of light. And then I wanted to show you, so this is the 2.0 deck. I kind of screwed it up, so I'm going to have to print another copy of it. But the lid fits on nicely. The pieces did not fit together properly. I ended up having to, I cut down the right side, the left side really badly. I shouldn't have cut it. I should have just printed a new center, but I kind of was trying to make them fit. So I'm just going to print new ones. There's a few sections where I didn't round the edges nicely, and it's how nice does it need to be in a way, so I'll have to think about what I want to do, if I want to pretty it up a little bit or just kind of leave it a little. It's functional. It's definitely functional. So I do have so there's a porthole for if you have the extra water system, and then I've got the holes for the trellis, which I do need to double check once I've printed everything out to make sure that they're the right length, because that's not something I actually checked. I did measure the pieces, but I didn't physically check, so it's kind of like I did it on paper. So, once it gets, fully printed out and I'm able to really check the dimensions, then I'll know if I'm off or not. If you're off by a tiny bit, it's not too bad, but I don't want to be off by a lot. So anyways, that is how everything is doing in the Aerogardens. Everything got extra food the last time I did feeding, so the pepper plants are looking really good right now. So and so are the tomatoes. I'm really pleased with how everything is doing. The pepper plants, I'm not sure if 2 pepper plants in a bounty might be a little bit too much for it, but they are looking really good. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will have some videos up at the end that you might enjoy, and I will see you next time on the Aerogarden Homestead.